welcome to another video here at the channel Kredsen out of the hamster wheel. In this video I want to work on this large clump, so another clump. This is only 3 trees opposed to the other one. And before I get started explaining what to do, I hope you enjoyed the last voiceover video. I'm definitely going to try to make another one, but I don't know yet because it's not out yet. I just like the format, so I'm gonna keep going with it, or try it again at least. The thing I want to achieve with this clump of 3 large trees is that I want to plant the idea in the mind of the person that watches it that a large cone dropped on the ground and then 3 seeds made it out of that cone, and that's why you have them so close to each other. I guess at the bottom I want the trunks to fuse in the future, but that'll probably take a while since it's a bonsai and it'll have limited growth. I want on the 2 side trees, I want most of the foliage, the branches, to be on either their sides, so away from the middle tree, giving the indication that they would weigh more in the both the right side and the other left tree on the left side, so they would slowly tip over and create so them bending away from the weight of themselves. I want to give that picture of these trees so that you can imagine that all the weight of the branches would lift them down towards the sides. That's what I want to do. So yeah, now I'm just pruning back the tree to try to create ramification, and I think the season is fine to do that autumn because yeah, it's very small branches, and if it dies back a bit, it's okay. On the lowest 2 branches here I try to create ramification on the branches. That's why I prune them back, and I want to try to make a new taper, which I'm working on here. Sorry that my hand is blocking. And yeah, if it's a bigger cut, I want to try to seal it with sealant so I don't have any dieback like here on the new taper of the right tree. This large tree clump was originally consisting of 5 trees, but 2 died, as sometimes does. They are in the same root ball, so they have to fight for the energy. I guess some died. Luckily it landed on even number 3, so I'm good there with the Japanese traditions, or bonsai traditions at least, and it's been a good growing season. I cut the big tapers off, as you can see on the 2 side trees, left and right, so that scar has healed very nicely. And I feel like I'm ready to do a little bit of wiring and establish the first general structure of the tree. At least the 2 ones. I don't quite know what to do with the big one in the middle yet, but I'll figure it out with time. I just want to cut back the trees so next year's growth, when the spring comes around, is where I want it. And this branch obviously needed to come off because it's growing towards the viewer out of the front, so you can't really, there's no point of keeping it. And I have a nice side branch on the left just above the big cut I did half a year ago in the early spring. And again, bigger cuts I want to seal up so both the healing process is faster and there doesn't get any sickness or fungus into the scar. And large trees, they tend to make clumps when they heal, so I wanted to try to limit that. You can actually see it on the middle tree that it's sort of, when it's overlapping the cut, it creates these big clumps, so I want to try to minimize that as much as I possibly can, and scar seal helps me do that. Next thing is cutting off the big middle tree's top because it's way too tall in proportions to the other 2 trees, so that's what I want to do. And again, establish some nice tapering and some shape in the tree, but mainly I want these trees to be straight, apart from obviously the 2 on the sides. They want them to lean to the sides away from the bigger tree to get it sort of to, like I said before, that you can imagine that those trees are going for the light, and which the only place they can get that is to the sides. So that's what I'm doing here. And again, a big cut. I want to seal the wound so it heals properly. And And as I said in the last video, and I cannot stress this enough, if you have the same sort of sealant in a little can as me, it's nice to have a little cup of water or something to dip your finger into when you've applied it, so it doesn't stick to your fingers, and that it sticks to the scar. I had a lot of trouble with this, so I was very happy to find this advice on another YouTube channel. I can't remember where, but it's good advice. So you can apply it properly. And it's always good to speculate when you're working with a tree which move is the best as the next one. Like, really take your time to wonder, how can I do this next branch best, and how can I do this next branch best, and which one do I want to save and which do I want to cut off. That's what I'm doing as often as I can. And it's even more important if you're like me, like an actual beginner. So I need sometimes a little bit more time than a professional to decide on decisions. I have a lot of butts on the trunks, that's why I'm not afraid of moving all these branches, because as you can see, there's all these small butts on it, so I'm sure next year they'll all come shooting around, and I can control the growth with selecting which branches I want to use for the tree. And here I can do the 2 branch principle. That's why I just do rounds around the trunk. It's an okay hold, but it's not perfect, but it's a very small branch, so it'll do. And again, this branch is going to be the oldest one on this tree, so it needs to be the one that bends the most down and create that effect that it's an old branch which is weighing the trunk to the left, like to get the light, and this is where this tree has its opportunity to grow towards. So I want to bend it down like it's an old branch, like so. Yeah, just experiment, and when you feel the branch is right, you can move on like I'm doing here. Yeah, again, I'm tightening the wire because it's not excellent hold, because I can't do the 2 branch principle in this coincidence. And now I'll move on to the other side. I need some wire that's a bit thicker, because these 2 branches compared to the one on the left tree is quite a lot thicker. Might have some wire here that's a bit too thick, but then I'm at least able to bend the branch just as I'd like. And I'm going for the same look on the right side here. But the branches, these 2 branches are going to be some of the oldest ones, which is why I need them to look like they are hanging by their own weight, and they're through that also pulling down the tree itself with the weight of itself. And when you're wiring, it's always a good idea to have your finger right behind where you're wiring, so there's less chance of breaking a branch, and you can do the best wiring job and set it as close to the branch as possible. And on this side, luckily, I am able to do the 2 branch principle. Right now I'm just removing a little bit of dead wood so I can wire properly and not damage the tree, because it will be difficult to remove. I unfortunately can't see the little dead off branch, but it'll be difficult to cut off once the wire is applied to the branch, I'm sorry. In this instance, I'm just pruning off a branch that grows towards me, which I don't want, and it's a little branch on the branch. I don't want to use that to ramificate my branch here. I want to apply a little bit of scar sealer so that chances of dieback are minimized. When you're dealing with wire that's a bit thick, it's always good to have a pair of pliers or a gin plier, which I don't have yet, to guide the last piece of wire that's hard to do with the fingers. The thicker the wire, the more difficult it gets to guide the wire, the ends of the wire with your fingers. So again, same procedure as the other side. I want to bend down the branch to resemble an old heavy branch that's pulling down the weight of itself. Same goes for the other one, of course. And right here you could say that you could ask, why do I have two branches on the right side here? And I'm also questioning myself here, because it might look stupid compared to the other side, where the only branch I have is actually higher than these two, but I'll leave both of them on as options. We'll see if I decide to change it in the future. Might cut the lowest one off or turn it into a gin, so I have the trees being more symmetrical together. But we'll leave it on for the future to decide what to do with it. Next thing I want to do, I want to try to create some more space between the trunks. Again, I'm sorry for repeating myself, it's to create some distance and the visual effect of the tree leaning to the side under the weight of itself, and the branches that's only growing to one side. So that's why I put these pieces of bamboo and wood in between the trunks to create this effect. You could use a piece of wire or anything else, but in my example here, I want to try to use some wood. It came in very handy because I had a lot of small pieces of wood lying down. This is pretty much the distance I want in between them, so hopefully in the spring the root system and the root ball will have settled in this position. Last thing I want to do is try to create some nice branch structure on the right tree, because I have the option, I have the branches positioned pretty much how I want them, so that's what I'm going to do. And now there's enough space between the middle tree and the side tree, so I can have a little bit of branches to the left side as well, but they will be, of course, limited in growth compared to the ones getting the most light on the right side. And then the last piece of wire, again, this piece might be a bit too long, but then maybe I can use it in the spring when the branch actually grows. But fortunately here I have two branches, so I can use the two branch principle, which means I get the better hold, even though they are very thin branches, which means they are very flexible still. But it's good to keep the principle anyways, so the wiring job will be done properly. And here in the end, while I finish the wiring, I'd just like to say I really appreciate you guys watching, and a like and subscribe would help my channel and dreams out a lot. We are very close to buying a house, as I mentioned in the other video, and we are getting closer and closer, so we're going for it. And I really appreciate you guys being here on the channel very early, supporting me. And wiring these two last branches, I am of course bending them down, but not too much, because we are getting closer to the taper of the tree, which means they don't need to be bended down as much, which I in this coincidence seem to not understand, but anyways, I'll work on that later. Thank you so much for watching.